Hi friends, I'm going to share with you today how I make my favorite crochet vanilla socks. Now, my homemade recipe of socks generally has a squishy toe that I use half double crochets around the toe area, but today I won't use the half double crochets. Either way, you can make them with single crochets or half double. It's up to you. So the point is we're always going to start with a wedge toe. This is Knit Picks, aka We Crochet Felici yarn, and this colorway is Toucan, and it's 75% superwash merino, and you can feel it too. It is so very soft. 25% nylon, 218 yards. These are 50-gram skeins. So gorgeous. And yes, you see here that I've already been testing out this yarn. So I've picked my hook size to size C, as you can see here, so I didn't forget which one it was. But also I work my socks up 2 at a time, and that's why that's unraveled. But I work them 2 at a time, and as you can see, I really like the wedge toe. It fits my foot the best. Even though I like rounded toe socks, this fits my foot the best. So if you would like to try a wedge toe sock or enjoy wedge toe crochet socks, I hope you really enjoy this tutorial. So we're going to start by making a chain. I'm a size 8, and what fits me best is making a chain of 12 across, and then if it's squishy toe, half double crochets. That would be 10 half double crochets across. But today I'll be working a single crochet because of the variation. So let's get started. We're going to start with a slip knot. And work up 12 chains. As I mentioned, you have the option to make a half double crochet around your toes or the entire sock period, but today I'm only going to work single crochets. And I'm going to start with inserting my hook in the 3rd chain from the hook, and I am working in the back bump because that's my preference. And then I'm going to continue with 1 single crochet into each stitch, into each chain across. Okay, so I'll grab me some slack. Okay, so now we have a single crochet into each stitch across. It gives us 10 stitches. So what we will do, because we're going to work in a round, I'm going to insert another single crochet into the same stitch I just worked in, and hold my yarn over so that it will be woven in or worked in as we continue. So on the ends of our toe portion, or for quite some time, we're going to insert 2 single crochets at the end to give it that trapezoid shape and an increase. So there are 2 in that one. Now we work back 1 at the bottom of that stitch and into the next one. Oh, I forgot to weave in. So let's grab it and do it now. 1 into the next one, into the next one. Okay, so now we're at that last stitch, and this is where we want to put 2 single crochets. And yes, it's a bit tight, but once we've worked through this row or round, we are good to go. So here's 1 and then 2. Now the fun begins. So you can place stitch markers at the end where your increases are to help you remember where to increase, but as you work, it will continue to grow on the sides and even point a bit. If you've worked triangle shawls before, you will be familiar with that point, with that increase in the center of the shawl. And so it will continue to grow in this direction and point on the end. So you may not need stitch markers, but it's up to you. So we continue in this round. One single crochet until we get to the ends and increase on each end. Okay, and I'm going to continue in this round until my the toe area is the length that I desire to stop my increases. I have finished my increases, and so this is my toe coverage. And now I'm gonna, excuse me, begin working in the round. No increases until I get to the gusset. So that's all I'm gonna do on this portion, is work in the round until I get to the gusset. So I will put 1 single crochet into each stitch. And yes, I did choose to leave a marker here, letting myself know where I wanted to stop with the increases. But if you're working these pretty much in one sitting, or like for a day or two, because if you wanted to and you just had a lazy day with not much to do, you could probably finish a pair of socks in 2 days. I mean, it's possible. So that's what my stitch marker is for. I look like that split a little. Is to let me know that I'm stopping my increases here. And so that's all I'm gonna do. I will meet you when I get to the gusset and show you whether or not I'm going to increase it and how many increases that I'll choose to do. So I will meet you there. Okay friends, we've made it back to start working on the gusset. Like I mentioned, this is made to fit my size. We started with a chain, worked an increase on each end, and then we worked in the round, no increases, until we get to the gusset. The gusset is the section right before the heel. Now we're going to work the gusset, and that's going to be an increase in 4 areas in this next row. So it doesn't really matter where you put it, and for the increase it will simply be 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. You're only going to do that in 4 areas of this row. So if you have a stitch marker, you may want to place it here before you begin this row. Now, depending on your needs, the shape of your foot, you may also go on to increase twice or even 4 times in the row after this one, and possibly the next one. But as I mentioned, this is a recipe tutorial to suit whatever your needs are, but basically you increase once, 2, maybe 1 this row and maybe the next 2 rows before you get to where you're going to stop and split for the heel. So just depending on your needs, that's how you're going to increase. For me, I only need to increase in this 1 row in 4 areas, in 4 stitches. So that's what we'll do here. Keeping our stitch marker in, letting us know where our row begins. And I tend to put my increases fairly far apart on both sides of this round. I say row and round interchangeably. And now it's time for the increase here. So 2 single crochets, and we'll work single crochets until we get to the next stitch for the increase. So I'll increase here and work single crochets until I get to either stitch 2 stitches on this side. And so then I'll work single crochets until I stop. So I'm only going to do that for this row. And after that, I'll work a few more rows, single crochet, a few more rounds, single crochets until I get to where I want to split for the heel. So I will meet you when we split for the heel. Okay, so we have finished. You can see these increases in the gusset area. I do sometimes, after I finish the gusset, I stop my increases and I just go around 1 more row, single crochet, single crochet. And the reason I do that is because sometimes I don't like the folding of where I'm seeing the increases. It's kind of it just looks a little loose, and I don't like that. So I usually go around 1 more row with but you don't have to, it's just optional, with a single crochet in that row. And then what I do, as you can see here, is on one end, and of course I'm trying this on along the way, I chain the length of one side around my heel to the other side. So for me, that was 40 chains. And so once you've made your chains, flip your work over and put a stitch marker on the opposite side of where you're going to attach the chain. So my stitch marker is here. So I'm going to be inserting my hook right there. I believe that's where I was. And then slip stitch to attach that chain. So pull it through. I lost it. Okay, there we go. So pull the yarn through and then pull it through that last chain. And you have attached where you've split for the heel. So we've just split for the heel. That's what the chain is for. So this bottom portion will be where your heel will fit, and we will continue to work in the round into this chain and continue up past our ankle or at the ankle if that's what you choose to do. So I don't need that stitch marker right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work over this half row and then start to go up into the chain, and I'll show you how I do that. So now what I do is I work usually in the back bump of each one of these chains. And what I just realized that I didn't do was make sure that the chain was all turned one way. So I am not going to edit this. I'm going to leave this mistake in, but my recommendation is to work in the back bump if it's possible of the chain. It looks like I did turn it that way. Yay! So work in one single crochet into the back bump of each one of these chains. Let's see. Okay, so we're down to this last one. Woo! So, all right. So you're just going to keep working in the round all the way up the ankle, until you have the desired length of your sock. So for me, these will probably be kind of mid socks, a little higher than shorties. Maybe they'll just be shorties because either. I'm going to save some of this yarn to fill in the heel, we could just start on the heel right now, but we won't. I'm gonna start working up the ankle and then come back and show you how we'll attach yarn at the heel. But I haven't decided whether this will be a contrasting color at the heel yet. So that's part of the fun of this as I go. I hadn't made that decision yet. I just couldn't make up my mind. So we will continue together to work in the round until we have the desired length, and come back. I'll meet you back at the contrasting heel possibly, or to attach the yarn for the heel and show you how I got that clean line for my heels. So nice. So I will see you back there. Okay, so now we're ready to fill in the heel. Here's the shape of the sock. And we are going to reattach the yarn in the heel section. And this, I actually split for the heel at kind of a large section. As you're working on your socks, you can determine where you're gonna split for the heel. But I'm gonna take up a rather large section. And what we're gonna need at the end is a yarn needle. And right now we need a pair of scissors. So let's go ahead and cut our yarn. I like to leave a lot of yarn. Because I actually may reattach this and work up further depending on how much yarn I have left. And I made my decision not to use a contrasting color. So I'm just gonna work with what I have. But I will start usually right here in the corner. And just pull the yarn through and slip stitch. And then what I'm gonna do next is work in a single crochet into each stitch, but decrease when I get to this end. And because I left such a large opening, I will also decrease when I get to this end. You do have the option to decrease working down to one end, decreasing at the end, and not decreasing working back this side. It really depends on you. It really depends on the shape that you prefer. You'll have a more rounded shape if you decrease on both sides. So this is how I do it. I have attached my yarn and I'm going to work single crochets and weave in my tail as I go by placing it over my hook. And when I yarn over, it will be secure. And the next one. So now we're down to the last few stitches of this row, and you can see here in the corners where it ends. So this is the last one before we decrease. So for the decrease, I put my hook inside, pull the yarn up, then I start to work around here, but only once for each row. So then you see there is a stitch, which is that beginning chain that we started when we split for the heel. We're just going to insert the hook in that first one. It's a bit tight. Pull it in, and then we're going to draw all the loops together for the decrease. It's that simple. So this is where you have the option to work down this row and decrease on this end if you would like, or you can just work down this row and no decrease, but just reattach, no decrease, but just connect or work the yarn into the chain on this side. It's really up to you, the look that you want for the heel. So experiment, figure out if you want a rather large showy heel or more rounded shortened heel. Either way, it's gonna fit really nicely. That's what I've experienced. So what I'm gonna do is only decrease on one side. So you will not work into this stitch. You will go to the next one and single crochet until you get to the end of the chain. Now, if I were you, if you decided to decrease on both ends, or if you want to signal yourself or leave a marker that you won't decrease on both ends, I would put a stitch marker on the end that I won't decrease on. That's what I would do, because yes, I have decreased on both sides accidentally before and did not like the overall look, and so I had to rip it all out and start all over again. But today I think that's how I want to make these socks, is to only decrease on the one side. So it's really up to you. I hope that you have been enjoying this recipe tutorial. I really like recipe tutorials because I learn so very much when I experiment. And in my opinion, the recipe tutorials kind of teach you to experiment, but you're kind of being guided. Have your hand held just a little bit, and then you can tweak it and make it 100% your own. And I think that's awesome. So I really do hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'm going to continue with the decrease. And if I have any yarn left, I'll work a few more rounds here. But this is really the end of the video. I'll show you the finished product in just a little bit, but please leave in the comments below if this tutorial has been helpful to you. If you like this type of style tutorial, if you would like to see more tutorials from me, and let me know what you would like to see me make. If it's something from the past that I've made, or maybe something I've mentioned but didn't say I would make a tutorial for it, let me know in the comments below. So now we're getting down to this last part right here. Now, this is what I do. If while working this and you have a lot of stitches here and it's short here, you have the option of decreasing a bit more on the ends if you would like, or you can go ahead and seam it together here. So what I like to do is I like to decrease 2 or 3 stitches together to start closing this up, and then I still seam in the tail. And I don't do it on the inside because it will leave a thickness that could irritate your heel. So I always make my seam on the outside. So that's what I'm going to show you right here. So I will single crochet 2 together for this decrease. I need to lift that a little bit so I can fit my hook in. So that's what we'll do here. Single crochet, keep it on the hook. Single crochet. This one's always a bit tight to work into. Did I get it? Can't really tell. There we go. Single crochet, so I have 2 single crochets on the hook. And then I'm going to work into the next chain stitch here. Oops. And then I'm going to draw all 4 loops together. Now, you have the option to pick this up and draw it in, or you can just pull it all the way through like this. It makes it really clean on the side when you choose that method. And then when I turn it, I'm going to take a look at how many extra stitches it still looks like I have, and maybe 3 extra, because I like it to line up perfectly without really giving it a lot of stretch. So what I will do is I have the option to decrease on this end or decrease on this end. And so like, why not? Why not just go ahead and decrease it on this end? So I will skip 1, 2, and I will draw those 2 together and start working in this 3rd stitch. So that's what I'll do. That's a pretty profound stitch, but no, I won't work into the first one, sorry. We skip this one. And we'll single crochet 1, 2 together. There we go. And then we'll try to keep the yarn on the hook. This is really slippery. We'll work down this way. Oops. That's pretty slippery. I don't think I have any wooden hooks in this size. Be sure to try on your sock and see how do you like the fit. So this time I'm also going to decrease here by stitching 2 together. So you have 1, then you have this ugly decrease right here. You want to put the hook under. There we go. And look, gonna do one even better than that. I am going to work into this chain stitch, and then I'm going to draw all of them together. Oh, don't lose it, don't lose it. This is such a slippery hook for this soft yarn. There we go, I'm just going to have to pull that out. Okay, so let's see what it looks like now. I think there's still too many stitches on this side, so I'm going to do another decrease on this end. So we always skip this one and go to the next one. So this one, and this 2, stitch 2 together. Now you do have the option of when you get to the chain stitches to work up a few and then work back. I just don't do that. And the way that we're working this is a bit rounder instead of more flat. And I think this is going to be a great fit. So then we go into the next one, single crochet. The way I'm sitting, it's kind of hard for me to see this. I'm gonna change positions. Okay, single crochet all the way down. And I'm gonna make as many rows as possible because I think my sister's gonna need more heel coverage than I anticipate for myself. And so that'll give her a bit extra room. Let's check and see how this is evening out before I end this row. So we can still stand to decrease it a bit right here. But if you want, you don't have to decrease to give more room in the heel. But I think for her fit, I can do a decrease right here. Actually, I'm gonna go back one more and then do this stitch 2 together for a decrease in the next 2 stitches. There we go. And then we're gonna work into the next chain stitch, which is this one, and pull them through. And it being so tight in this way, it can kind of make it hard to work into that stitch if you choose to work into that stitch. So let's turn it and see what it's looking like now. Ah, now it's starting to even out a bit. So I'll continue. I always skip this one because it gives it a slight decrease when you do that, but not as much as the stitching 2 together on the other side. It's just really up to you. I know I keep saying it, but it just, you do whatever you need to suit your fit, the fit you need. Check on it right now. It looks pretty good. Now, if you would like at this point, you can just seam it up. But like I mentioned, I'm going to try to get as many rows as I can to give my sister more room in her heel. Oh, I gave it away. These are for my sister. And our foot is about the same size. But you would have known that if you saw my most recent podcast or my most recent vlog. Well, I talked about that. So skipping this first one and going into the next one. Okay, so whenever my hands get really tight like this, this is when I stop my rows. And when my fingers start to cramp a bit, it starts to feel tight, that's when I take advantage of the option to just seam everything together. So very soon I'm going to stop working rows. I want to make sure that I get under both of those stitches. There we go. A bit meticulous at this point, but it's so worth the results. Now look at that. So much better, right? It's getting a bit tough for me now because it's very little room to work into. And that's okay because we're almost done. I don't like that bulk right there either, so I'm gonna work that again by tightening my yarn and making sure it's pretty tight the whole time. That's much better. Okay, I don't think my fingers can handle too much more of this, so I'm gonna give it a break. If you would like to continue decreasing your rows, you can, but my pinky hurts way too much. And so what I like to do is cut the yarn about yay, and then make a note that I stopped where there were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, 8 stitches left. And now I'm just going to seam it. So you can pull it through. Take your yarn needle. And I think I learned this trick from TL Yarn Crafts, to lay it over your needle and it will actually fit inside after that. And I don't remember the video. It was a long time ago, yes. So here we go, going from this side to the next. If you want to seam on the inside, you can, but I don't. So I go into the next stitch, bring it around, make sure it's tight, and I do go under the whole V and then into the chain that's right above it, if that's possible, and make sure that it's pulled tightly. And this may not even out the number of chains that you have to stitches, so you would just rework into some of the same chains and stitches again if necessary to complete your project. But yes, I recommend going under the whole V and then into the next chain stitch all together, pull it through. And see, you really don't even notice it. It's really nice. So was that all of it? Nope. I have one more here. Oh, actually I have 2. So mine actually was the right amount. The same amount in this row was the same amount of chain stitches that was left. Love when things come out even. So like I said, I recommend that you finish your work on this side outside of the foot so that there's no extra friction from that extra fabric created right here. And then you go in, if you want to go over some more, you can, but I'm actually finished with this portion. But if you want to go over, you can. And however you want to seal this up, you can. Sometimes I do like a little X. But I'm always paranoid about things reopening, so I still work down into wherever I can get it to be as tight. Work into very tight stitches or tight pieces because they're less likely to open. So work down and then work back, and that should secure it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I may or may not add a few more rows. But we will see the finished set in just a minute. Again, thank you for viewing my video, and I really do hope some of it was informative to you. Yeah, it's hard for me to stitch and talk at the same time. But I do hope that some of it was informative to you and helpful. Now, the last time you actually put your needle in, I forgot about that part, make sure it's going toward the inside. So when you cut it, it'll be on this side. All right, people. We have a sock. That's so pretty. Yeah, so I'll get to work on sock number 2, and I'll work this into the round until there's no more of this. And it's gonna pretty much be cut the same way. Our sock is all done, and I will be sharing now, look for this, sharing now both socks, and I'm excited about it. So thanks again for viewing, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye, everyone.